I am Daniel Leakes, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my featured author of the month of October. She was an award winning author, no other than Miss Jennifer Borzek. Hello again, Miss Jennifer, and thank you for your time. Another episode on Book 101 Review. And as usual, can you please introduce yourself?
I'm Jennifer Borzek. I'm a full-time author, editor, and media tie-in writer. I am currently spinning up a new magazine that has an open call. Just follow me on social media. And I've been doing this full-time for over 17 years.
Yes. And congratulations for sharing your talents to the world. Thank you so much for entertaining us. And today we're gonna talk about your latest book, Shadowrun. What is the main idea or theme for this
Okay.
novel?
So Shadowrun is actually the intellectual property, the IP. The book is the Mosaic Run. It is the second in a duology, but you don't have to read the first book, which just, in case you want to, is auditions, and it just won the Scribe Award for Best Tie-In for 2024. So the Mosaic Run is a heist story, a heist gone wrong, very wrong, as these things go. And it features a rather broad cast of characters that I had written about before. But basically, the group is trapped in an underground server complex, and they're having to escape with the enemy closing in.
So, what is your target audience for the Mosaic Run?
For the Mosaic Run, this is a young adult book, but if you like cyberpunk with magic, think Blade Runner meets The Matrix meets Tolkien in the near future. Like magic has returned to the world, and things are not that much different than they are now, though they're a lot more corporate run, even though you can say that that's happening now as well. But technology has advanced to quite a degree where you could have cybernetic limbs, replaced eyes, implanted phones, and then magic. There's magic in the different traditions. You can go hermetic, or you could go shamanic, or there's something called a physical adept. But the audience is anyone who likes Shadowrun. Those who know. Young adult who likes good heist stories, and I don't condescend against teenagers, because teenagers are incredibly savvy these days. So, and a lot of adults read these, and they like all of my books.
Yes. So, who are the main characters and what are their motivations?
Well, on the cover you can see. Oh man, how long has it been since I wrote this book? uh, oh God. All right. Well, the main characters are mostly a character named BlotterBabe, who you don't see. There's Landon. There is Amelie, who's on the cover, and then Charlotte, who's also on the cover. There are a couple of other ancillary characters, like Sartorial and Kinsuki, but the main four is Landon and Liana. They're twins. Amelie and Charlotte. And they are tasked with bringing a quantum server out of this server farm, because it houses something very, very, very important.
So how did you plan to the developing and protagonist over the course of the story?
Well, BlotterBabe, who is our throughput character from through both books, she sort of popped into my head wholesale. I had written the first novella that's in auditions, and I started thinking about writing the second one. The second one's called See How She Runs. And I thought, well, I need a fixer character. Well, I should pick somebody that the fans already know. And so I thought about BlotterBabe. And then suddenly this onion, this flower opened up and handed me this rather complex story of a person who has become trapped in their own home because they've set up their security so well that they never thought that they would have to escape the security they set up to keep the outsiders out. But the enemies are inside the walls. So doing character development, I had to think about where she came from and where she wants to go. With the main characters, Landon and Liana, it's like, what do each character want? What do they want and why are they here? And something I set up is every main character owes BlotterBabe a favor. So they're here to pay off a debt. Now, she's also paying them because this is a heist story, and you need money to survive in the shadows. But everybody's here because BlotterBabe is a friend as well as a contact. So that's how I had to interweave why each person would be here and what do they get out of what they're doing.
So how did you plan the structure of the Mosaic Run?
This is my, I think, 15th novel, and they're always different. They're all different. This particular novel, if you break it down to its component structures, it is a chase scene, a novella chase scene, broken up by 4 flashbacks, 4 large flashbacks, basically explaining how we got to this point and who each of these characters are and what they did. At that point in a heist where you learn how they got to this point, and they go back in time and they show the machinations of what people had to do to set events into motion. So it is a chase scene through an underground server farm with people with guns chasing them, and then popping back into time to show how did we get through the first layer of security. Okay, what did we do to get through the second layer of security? And what are we doing on the outside? What are the stakes involved in the third flashback? And then the fourth flashback is kind of the plan to where everybody is meeting up, and then it all falls apart. And then you finish the book with the rest of the heist. And like most heists, it succeeds, but it costs.
Thank you, Ms.Jennifer, for sharing this award-winning piece. I hope more award-winning novel of yours to come. And what point of view did you use when you're doing the Mosaic Run, when you're writing it?
Since this is an ensemble piece, I'm using third person close, which basically means there are 3 main points of view. And the camera sits on their shoulder when we're in their point of view. So we know what they see and what they think. So it's Landon, who is carrying the server farm. There's BlotterBabe, who has designed the whole thing. And then there's one of the outside people. I think it's Samira, might be the outside person. There's a lot of people in this book. But so the camera sits on them, and since it is trying to escape from the inside out, and we know that there's outside people that will also be a problem, so we have separate groups, inside and out.
So how did you set the tone or mood for this Mosaic Run?
Well, I believe I started it with 4 teenagers running down a hallway being chased by a drone that's shooting at them. And one of the characters asks, why the hell do you have flying security drones? It seemed like a good idea at the time. So there's a bit of humor, there's a lot of danger, and in that first chapter, I do something pretty horrible to one of the main characters. So I'm basically raising the stakes from the beginning.
So do you think the Mosaic Run is good for a series or a motion picture?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm very visual when I write. Most of the things that I write, I see it play out in my head. I'm one of those people who has full color imagery inside my head, and I can hear the characters speaking. My favorite point when I am writing is when I have been writing and I'm staring at the screen and I finish a scene and it had played out in my head like a movie, and I was not really aware of my fingers typing. I was in a flow state that I call it the waterfall effect. It just from my head through my body to my fingers on the screen, and all of it is I can visually see it so well. So yeah,
Wow.
I would love to see it as a
Amazing.
movie.
Amazing. So what is the climax of the Mosaic Run without the spoiler? Oh,
Oh,
spoilers.
mm. The climax. Well, somebody discovers that they aren't as good as they thought they were. Somebody else sacrifices everything to save another. Uh, a couple of people are lost through the God in the machine, Deus Ex Machina, but as they say, Deus Ex Magica, uh, thanks to the miracle of magic. The climax of this book does come down to a fight between the lead bad guy and the lead fighter character. Her name is Kinsuki, and she was the one who watched the corporate soldiers come in, watch through the camera, and she was like, "No, we can't fight them. None of you can fight them. I can fight them, but not this many. We have to run." And she knew what she was talking about.
So how did you plan to create the tension and maintain the pacing throughout the Mosaic Run?
So they say that 2 people talking philosophy on a train is really boring if you just watch that, unless you're really into philosophy. Unless there is a ticking time bomb under their seat,
Hmm.
and the watcher or the reader is aware of it. So that brings the tension together. So we have a chase scene where we're moving different levels, fighting with homemade traps and drones and the corporate soldiers coming in. So there's a lot of tension there. But as people get hurt, there has to be some downtime. So it's kind of like you get to a point where you're there, and then you're like, but back at home, and then you tell a story over here. But you're thinking, wait, what happened here? What's going on with the person in the storeroom? But you're learning more about what has happened. It is you're building up the world, so you can bring together uh, a sense of anticipation. You end every chapter on kind of a little cliffhanger, and you move to someplace else, and then you come back. So you have these rolling waves of tension and then respite, and then tension and then respite, because you can't leave everything super high at one point because it's exhausting and there's no contrast. Tension pacing is all about the contrast of tension and relaxation or comfort, where you have moments of introspection versus action, something that's happening. Now, the thing that could be happening could be someone doing the tango. As I've always said, a sex scene is a fight scene, is a dance scene. They're all the same thing. What's the gravity? Who's involved? How do their limbs interact with each other? And what is the end result? So you know where every action scene doesn't necessarily need to be a fight or gunplay, or it can be literally dancing a tango and having a conversation, but it's still a tension, a fight between two characters. One character wants something, the other character doesn't want to give it to them.
So, Miss Jennifer, can you please read one of your favorite chapter of the Mosaic Run?
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, okay. Where are you? There's a point where I actually can't read it to you because I don't remember where it is in the book. But you know how I started with one of the characters was saying, "Why do you have flying drones?"
Yes.
Well, and she said it seemed like a good idea at the time. As it happened, she based a lot of her security on old movies. And there's a point where two of the fighter characters are making their way through a hidden tunnel to get into the server farm to save the people who are trapped in there. And one of the characters actually recognized, he's like, "Why do I know this? Why do I know this code? Why is this familiar to me?" And he figures it out just at the right time as a trap door is turning, dumping them into the hallway, and then he knocks the other character out of the way because it keeps going like a paddle wheel. And he's like, "It was in this movie, the Curse of the Flying Fire Serpent." That is one of my favorite scenes in this entire book because they're just like, you based your security on movies. So that is one of the things that I like the best about this specific book. It's because it's very self-aware, that it's very media driven, and
So, how did you incorporate dialogue to reveal character traits and move the plot forward?
One of the things that I did was we have chat functions in this game. So there are points where the character dialogue is nothing but chat being sent back and forth. It's actually physically in the book where you can see that it's actually chat bubbles. So when I hit that spot, I knew that all that you were going to get was what was in the chat. And I had to move the body language around the chat bubbles. Dialogue in general in Shadowrun has its own slang. I haven't used a lot of the slang because unless you're into the world, it doesn't make sense. Like there are no such thing as dollars. There's nuyen. There's cursing is like, instead of the F word, it's called fragger, or you can't. There's a lot of changed language that is shorthand for things that we know, but it is obvious in context what it is. I always remember that dialogue is emotional. Unless the character is not emotional, and then the people reacting to the unemotional character have all the emotion. So I have the same set of characters, Kensuke and Sartorial, who fought their way into the underground, the Mosaic Farm. That's what it's called. That's why it's called the Mosaic Run. I didn't want to just have them fighting, going through and finding hidden pit traps and such. I thought that was boring. So what I did was I gave them a habit of they started flirting with each other. As soon as they start going into danger, they start flirting with each other. So the conversation is completely at odds to the danger that they are facing. And that's one of the fun things I did with language play and body play. I would have conversation. I would have them being very flirty with each other while checking for traps. So it's one of those things where you could be flirting with this guy, but you're like picking locks at the same time. I made that to make that interesting. We discover BlotterBabe's background, and a lot of her stuff is text-based to begin with. Like, I can't give any body language for her or for the person she's talking to, Jenna, because it's all text messages back and forth. All I can do is give that information, and then what the characters are thinking, like in response to the text messages. So all I can do is make it emotional and give the characters assumptions. They have to make assumptions based on where they are, and they're not always correct. So, every person is the main character of their own story. So the world revolves around them, even if it doesn't.
Indeed, interesting. Ms. Jennifer, and how did you balance between showing versus telling in your writing style in the Mosaic Run?
Well, that is one of those gotcha questions, because there are sometimes you just have to tell information, especially if you're giving background information, but you're not saying it as you know, Bob, when we did this when we were 15, I had a bad experience. That is a really bad way of telling rather than showing. And showing could be Indiana Jones, underground. They fall
Yes.
into the pit, and he's like, snakes. Why did it have to be snakes? You immediately know. In Indy's background, he's terrified of snakes. So how they react to certain events and certain things coming into play is how you can show without telling. But sometimes you just have to tell. You have to do a little bit of narration, because that's just one of the tools of a writer. You want to set the scene, make sure it's not too talking heads in a white room. You want to describe what's around them. You want them to interact with the environment. I always say that you need to touch 3 different senses, and you don't want to forget like the sense of smell. For me, sense of smell is really important because I have a very good sense of smell, and so the scent of someone's perfume will bring back memories of that person or some other place and time. The smell of wet dog will either make you go, "Oh," because that smells like mold or something to you, or it will make you think of your childhood, you and your dog running around in the rain. So to evoke the emotions, to show and not tell, is to try to be visceral with the senses that you use.
Did you experience writer's block when you were writing the Mosaic Run?
I did not. Okay, I lie. When I started it,
Yes.
it took me a long time to figure out how I was going to write this because I knew it was a chase scene. But a chase scene for 90,000 words is freaking exhausting. Also, I wanted to do a heist. So there has to be denouement, there has to be flashbacks to setups so that they play out the way you want them to play out on the page. Fortunately, I got to experiment with that a little bit with my book Elf in Black because there was kind of a little heist in there at the end, and I was able to play with the prose and learn that I can use the techniques that I've learned. So my writer's block was me spending a good 3 weeks just thinking about this outline, like thinking about how did I want to tell the story? How did I want details to unfold? And it wasn't until I was actually into writing it that I realized, oh, it's basically a novella of a chase scene with 4 novelettes of background of things that happened in the background. Like, and then when I was like, okay, well, that's unusual for a structure of a novel, or at least unusual to me, but it works. So yes, at the beginning I had a little writer's block, but once I started,
Smooth. So, what's your revision process for refining the first draft of the Mosaic Run?
well, with most novels, what I do is I write as fast as I can and I use placeholders. Like, fight scene here, so and so wins. Or description of this person because I can't remember and I don't want to stop writing. I want to write as fast as I can for the first draft. I'm a bare bones writer, so I'm more of a putter inner than a taker outer. So as soon as I finish the first draft, I immediately go back to the beginning and I start from the top because I'm a top-down person. And I read and I now know what the whole story is. So I start layering in themes and foreshadowing and filling in all of those placeholders. And I get through that version. And then if I have time, I put it aside because I want to work, I want to do something else. I want to do a short story or pull my distance. I want to get distance from the story because you know what's supposed to be there. Your readers only know what's on the page. And if you get more out of what's on the page because you know what's there, it doesn't work. You need distance from your story. And then once you have distance, you come back. I always change the font. Sometimes I print it out and I will take it away from my desk and I'll take it downstairs and I will start reading it with a red line where I just start making notes. If there's anything systemic I see, or I will do this all on the computer, but I have the computer read it to me paragraph by paragraph because the computer only sees what's on the page and doesn't add in words. I have to tell you, ever since I started having the computer read me my stories,
And
my
just listen.
manuscripts have gotten so much cleaner.
Yes.
All those forgotten words, all those words where you're like, you want to say he barely made it and it says he barely made it. And you're like, oh, because spell check, while you can use it as a tool, it is a double agent that will stab you in the back at the worst time.
Yes, I totally agree, Miss Jennifer. To sum up the Mosaic Run, how did you know when the novel or the Mosaic Run is finished and ready for publication or submission?
Well, it actually has 3 endings because we have the first ending, then we have the second ending where we kind of wrap things up, and then we have the third ending, which is the possibility of there being another book in the series. The series is wrapped up, but if I really wanted to, I could continue.
Yes.
A book is never perfect. A book is done when your editor says, "Give me the damn novel. You're under
No.
deadline." And then they look at it and they can tell you if the book is finished or not. Because authors like to tinker. We will play with words and move things around and munge with a paragraph for days till we get it just perfect. But that just perfect paragraph doesn't match with the next paragraph. So you have to start munging the two together to make sure that they flow in the right state.
Yes, yes, yes. Again, Miss Jennifer, thank you so much for your talent. And as I said, looking forward for novels to come. So, can you please invite our listeners to support all your books?
I have a website, jenniferbrozek.com, JENNBROZEK. All my social media is there. I have a newsletter. Sign up for it, get free fiction, and find out everything about what's coming up, where I'm going to be, what's the next thing that's happened. Was I nominated for another award? Did I lose another award? So,
Yes.
And
Yes,
don't be
yes,
afraid to
yes.
apply.
Yes, 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 people. Let's support Miss Jennifer Borzek, because if you support her, more award-winning piece to come. So, Miss Jennifer, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
More to come, people. See you soon.